For decades, the singularity sounded like science fiction. The moment machines become smarter than us and history changes beyond recognition. But now, as AI moves into our phones, glasses, workplaces, classrooms, music, health, and relationships, the question feels a little less abstract. Are we actually approaching the singularity, or are we being sold a myth wrapped in a product demo? Let's get into it. Welcome to The Rundown. Hello. Good morning to Wayne Fox in Sydney, Australia, and good morning to everyone else, or afternoon, or evening, or nighttime, wherever you're watching, wherever you are. It's good to have you here. Welcome. Oh, you can see the thing in the back. That's my frame isn't cropped correctly. Oh well. You're seeing behind the scenes my little light over there. Sorry about that. I'll fix that as soon as I put Tamara's gorgeous face up on screen. How you doing, Tamara?
Hello. Yeah, fix your background.
I'm working on it. See, it looks okay in this one. It's just in the big one. All right, I'll fix it later. How are you?
I'm good. The daylight savings is really, I can never tell what time it is. I feel it's morning all the time until it's not.
I heard a rumor that President Trump wants to make it permanent.
Lots of people want to make it permanent. Those of us who would prefer standard to be permanent would prefer standard to be permanent.
I don't know. Tony, what do you think about this?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to transition here. That's all.
I mean, it. As a retired person, it doesn't really affect me either way. I'm happy for the longer days during the summer, and I'm equally happy with the getting darker in the wintertime. So
that's fair. If only we could just have a standard, like 12-hour day, 12-hour night, and damn physics, I mean, really, Lois, can we do something about that?
I don't care whether they stabilize on that one or that one. I just wish they'd make it always the same so we don't have to do the switcheroo thing. As far as having 12-hour days and 12 hours nights, I'm sorry, David, I think you'd have to move for that.
Yeah, I ain't moving. If I went up north, though, I don't know.
Oh, you would, yes.
That wouldn't be 12-hour days and 12-hour nights. That would be, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the sun comes up at 3 a.m. and it goes back down about 11. And when you get up above 60, of course, it doesn't go down at all. So, yes. By the way, we are going to not fall back this fall. Our province decided to join British Columbia and not go back. And we will have the same time zone. This has huge implications for hockey. So you got to watch out, because some of the games on the West Coast are going to be like 9 o'clock at night. And I'm sorry, we're all going to go to bed at some point in the middle of the
crazy talk. Crazy talk.
I can't understand it, and they can get off my lawn. Anyway,
Sky, do something about this. Save us all.
5 a.m. The sun. I'm not as far north as Dave, but I do remember being way in the latitude in Norway. And I started having a lovely chat with dinner, and it's like, why am I so tired? And I looked, it was 11:30 at night, and the sun was still up in Bergen, Norway. So Seattle's not quite that far north, but Dave, yeah, we have sunrise but we're feeding the birds. The birds are telling us to get up and feed them at 5 a.m.
Get up, damn it. Yeah.
Get up.
Exactly. Well, it's light outside.
That's my morning. I'm a morning girl. I'm up at 4.
I know.
I'm a morning girl.
It was all of this was based on the agrarian societies. Once upon a time, this was a helpful thing for farmers when children needed to go out and help their parents on the field. And all those children helping their parents on the field would now be taken away by the Human
DCF,
Services.
Right, the Department of Children and Families. They come and take them all away.
I was driving at 13. I had my driver's license at 14 because it grandfathered in Kansas. So
Kansas.
Now, my children didn't even get their driver's license until they were after 23.
Please, Kansas. Let's get into the news. Oh my Lord. My friends, Microsoft Build was this
Lovely.
past week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Boy, did they have, both Google and Microsoft have just, their announcements have been a little crazy to me. I mean, it's so AI. It's so, they're just releasing. Microsoft released like 7 different models. And really the biggest thing I think to come out of it was this new hardware that they're talking about. What did they call it? I can't, this
Service Ultra.
no. There's oh gosh, I'm trying to look for the name of it. There was forgive me for not remembering the name. Maybe someone knows it. You can throw it in the chat. They're making what they're calling a new type of device. This is an AI first device, and they showed off 2 different things. They showed off an alarm clock looking thing, and they showed off a little like a badge like a security badge that you might wear. And both of them, they had screens, touch screens. You could talk to them, and it was AI first. This is what could. And all I could think was, that's an alarm clock and a tiny phone. Like I didn't understand it at all. But apparently, from what I heard, this was at the very least, it was a calmer Microsoft Build than last year, when apparently the keynote got bombed by protesters who broke into the building and started protesting Microsoft. I don't know. Was there anything from this that you all took away that you were excited about?
Yeah, I got a little bit out of that. Personal AI was what the fellow from NVIDIA called it. And I think this is going along with what Apple is doing, is they're going to make it personal. It'll be on your device. You don't need a data center to have an agent working on your device. And the agent can decide when it needs to connect and when it doesn't. And it will also decide, when you get up in the morning, because the sun is up and the birds are chirping. But I think in the sense that they are imitating the M1 and M2 chip, because they've celebrated the fact they have unified memory, and they have lots of cores, and they have lots of GPUs all on it. And Lois is swimming, I think, right now. She's moving her. Anyway, so we are looking at a catch up. I think this is catching up to what's been going on over in the Apple courtyard.
Well, everybody's always catching up because they don't want to be caught out.
Right.
None of these companies, they're too big to make sharp pivot turns. They will buy other companies that has made innovative experiences, but
or they'll
catching
partner,
up,
or they'll partner with other companies, which is what Apple's approach is. I just the name that keeps popping up at all of these conferences is Jensen Huang and
oh yeah,
and NVIDIA. Yep. I mean, it's are they kind of ruling the world right now? They have this personal AI you were talking about. This is they have a desktop data center. Windows is coming to the NVIDIA DGX station, which can run, I don't even understand this, a 1 trillion parameter model locally on the computer, on a desktop computer.
That's when people take 4 minis and they stack them up and hook them up together. They can get 1 trillion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I felt like this is the thing that's going to happen all across the board. And I used to be a PC user for about 15, 20 years and then switched to Mac. And all I thought when I was looking at it was, thank goodness this will come to Mac eventually and it will be prettier. It will look nicer. Yeah. It will be just more delightful to interact with, because it still looks pretty ugly.
Yeah. You know what I did hear, and then Tony, please chime in. I heard that, I'm not a Windows user, so I don't know this, but I heard that Windows has gotten a lot of blowback recently because of the way that the AI was implemented, that basically it would pop up when you didn't ask for it. It was sort of like Clippy on steroids. And he was just always there, kind of nudging you. You know, it's interesting. I had an argument with ChatGPT on the way home in the car today because she kept interrupting me, and it was like really getting on my nerves. And I'm like, I found myself yelling at this thing because
Yes.
I'm in charge. You do what I say. And the Microsoft people who are using Microsoft, what I heard is that a lot of them were feeling like we weren't able to be in charge anymore. It was really fascinating. Tony, go ahead.
I just want to shift just a little bit from the standpoint of, I think part of this might be about the rumor that there's going to be a Mac Mini Neo. And if there is a $299 Mac Mini.
What? I didn't hear this rumor.
What? Mac Mini Neo.
Yeah.
That's going to cost $299. That will be a disruption to Windows from the standpoint that is affordable for anybody. And if it is able to surpass all of the things that Windows computers do, for the things that people are hanging on to, as far as I'm justifying why I have a Windows computer, the other thing that it does for Apple is it pulls people that are only in Windows into the Apple infrastructure. So if you're using a Mac Mini Neo, then you're likely to get maybe the basic iPhone or the basic iPad.
Or the other way around. If you have an iPhone, you will buy a Neo because you understand it now.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go Ford Chevy question. It's transportation at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
And so
Either
I don't know
way,
if the religion wars are going to continue. And
what I noticed in the presentation was there was a slide up about this being offered as like AI as a free service, that it comes with Windows, that you've already paid for it. You're already renting it through Windows instead of having to have a separate subscription. And I wondered if that's a sign of the times too, is that they're going to be able to sort of back this. And
we've been funneled into the subscription model now. So, I mean, we don't buy cable anymore.
Hulu, but that subscription model isn't quite how AI works right now, and that's the model that I think is gonna fade away because it's a token model. And what they're finding is that the token model is actually more expensive than hiring a human. And so I think there will be a bubble in terms of that. And if they can't find a way to pay for this, then I think there's going to have to be a real shift, because that token model is based on how they can afford to do AI, because it is incredibly expensive on the back end.
So I think concentration.
Yeah.
There's your conversation model, Paskin.
I really think
when the bubble pops.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that the free versions of, I was able to do a tremendous amount of things with the free version of Claude, with the free version of ChatGPT, and I think that is still an avenue for the average user. Of course, it's not enough for any of us, but for what the regular people are using it for right now, I think it's great.
So I just want to chime in on the Mac Mini Neo, because you boy, did you perk my ears up when you started talking. I had not heard this, Tony. This is about a month old now, this rumor. The renders look super cute. I'm just gonna say that, like, really
so cute.
I don't think this can happen. They killed the cheapest Mac Mini because of supply issues. So I don't know how they could if they can't even keep the $599 Mac Mini and they had to jump it to the $799. I don't know how.
It's not the same chip. It's not the same. It's not the same chip. So we're talking apples to oranges, because
it would use the A chip.
It uses the A chip. So it uses their bin chips. So
okay, right. Good
so
call.
it's a matter of, do they have enough of those bin chips? Because look at what happened with the Neo. It sold out very quickly.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I did see these new computers though as a high end, like the M1 competition, like that they were saying, look, you don't have to go to the Mac to go to to a regular Mac Mini to do AI. We're going to bring it to you. We have it on our system as well.
What Build's argument was Microsoft's argument is that we're moving away from the computer altogether.
Right.
And that desktop computers are not the future, which I lament that. I'm so comfortable working at a computer, but they're saying that it's a whole different interface that we're going to be dealing with AI, which is just really, really interesting to me.
So
And that's back to the subscription
having
model.
something built into your operating system, I mean, it's like, that doesn't sound all that exciting, because I mean, if I turn on my computer and I open Chrome, which is the browser I use, there's that little Gemini thing up in the window.
Right.
And, you know, I click that. I'm not paying anybody for that. I mean, I'm sure I'm paying somehow, but I'm not spending money on Gemini.
But I
Right.
think the thing that this made, the leap that this made, was it was saying, look, if you try to do agentic AI, you have to take a computer right now and you've got to like isolate it in a way that you really do have to be kind of advanced to know how to do that, to know how it's not going to take over the rest of your life. And what they're saying is, look, we created a friendly little app. It looks like all the rest of our friendly little apps because it's made by the same system that our friendly little apps are made out of. And so you can have that power as a regular user of our system on your computer that will isolate, that you can make sure that it doesn't go, you know, in a fairly logical way. If you're a PC user, because it looks like all their other stuff, you can create a sandbox for it and make it so that it doesn't take over. So they're actually driving regular users to agentic AI as opposed to you know, a chat GPT and something that you know, send your little text to, and that's text based. So I think that that's the key for that, is they're saying anybody can have agentic AI. It can be right there on your computer. All your private stuff can be there. It's not going to make you send your things out into the universe, which is what a lot of people are really afraid of.
And I think it's also, they're talking to people who are not particularly knowledgeable about what is available out there and what the current options and how it works and all that sort of stuff. And so this telling people that this is safe, this is Microsoft, this is, you should be used to this is your operating system. I think that's one of the things they were trying to do, is to get the regular users, as different from the advanced users, to join them.
Yeah, and the examples that they made were not at all coding. They weren't like, you can code a new app. Right. They were like, this helped me with my workout plan.
Even ChatGPT's Codex app. Now, the big move with Codex is that it's not just for coding, is that you should use it for everything else. By the way, I do want to mention one other thing, and that is that at Build, they also announced NVIDIA's new hardware, RTX Spark, which is an SoC, a system on a chip. This is not Windows. This is the PC version of the M series chip, which revolutionized Mac computers, Apple computers, and now NVIDIA is making one for PC, which has unified memory, CPU, GPU, AI capabilities, all on one thing. And it's already in or rather I should say the Surface Ultra was built around it. So that's coming in the fall. So it'll be interesting to see are they able to give us the same power that the M series has been able to give us, and that would even allow us to consider a Mac Mini Neo, you know?
The punchline is, it's simple and it's cute.
Right.
And the biggest hurdle is the humanity that didn't know how to use it. And who would ever put a camera in their house so that somebody could crap.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, tell us about Elle.
Elle is a professor. She's a PhD in computing science, but she also does commentaries on YouTube. And I put a link in the rundown sheet so that you could see her little problem, in that comments on the internet have suggested that she's not real. So she made a 6-minute video to prove that she is. It's a really good demo. And it also includes that she has a sort of seminar she hosts, and she is teaching people how to determine whether something is real or not. So when you see her smaller, that's her fake reel. And then when you see her full frame, that's the real person.
You can see the Hey Jen in the corner there.
in the corner to say, yeah, this is not real. But she gave it a try because she's an expert in this sort of thing. And she's also cautioning people about the economic impacts of this. One of the reasons she's on my list is that my wife watches her all the time. And then when she suggested I watch one, I watched her explain Canada's economic development in the next little bit because she does international affairs and stuff. But for this purpose, it was if we are unable to distinguish between this person and the real person, and you can't distinguish between me and my hologram, then we've got a problem in terms of people's perception of reality, and then anything's possible. Once you've taken that away from people as to what they think is real, and you make them doubt everything, and we'll get to this when we do our next show, is it's what we do to confirm what's real is to actually reach out with your hand and shake the other person's hand or hug them or whatever. And now you've got the feels, which is the real. But through these media, we are now seeing the atomization of reality, and we're having to have people explain on their own YouTube channel that no, I'm not an AI, although it would be helpful if I was, because then they would do all my work for me and just do all these speeches from a script. Excuse me, but you can see she's quite similar, and her expressions, her face, her gestures and stuff, they're all the same. But this woman is an actually expert in what are called minimal cues. Therapists use these all the time to determine what is going on in a person's head that they're not talking about. It's what a person doesn't say in therapy that you're after. And they can read the face. They can see muscles moving in your face that tell them you're either getting a little disturbed or angry, or you're a little more relaxed or whatever, or this is a revelation to you and you never thought of it before. These are all things that are what make us the distinctive person and the personality as well. So when we get to the idea that this is all going to be automated and substituting for real, we're talking about slop right now because it's pretty easy to see what it is. But when it gets more sophisticated with the faster chips and the AI is churning these things out in real time instead of just waiting most of a day for it to process. And as we said just earlier, if the token business disappears and it suddenly becomes a sort of subscription thing, well then, yeah, we've got an economy that's going to make use of this, and an ad agency is going to want this real big time. So
we should see more theater then, is what you're saying.
I'm saying that you're
live theater.
My business is going to have an uptick.
Theater sometime soon. They're going to do this one day, is do a whole show with one of those, and I don't have to show up. I'll pay for it, but I won't have to show up. So I just thought I'd throw that out to you guys as part of what I'm looking at in terms of the effect of media on how we think about things. And I think it leads right into our discussion of whether we're on the foothills of the singularity. And as I told you guys on Discord, I grew up in the foothills of the Rockies, so I think I understand this landscape.
And we talked a little bit about this, about how last week, I think, about how we are now having to prove to the computers that we are human, as opposed to the computers, having to prove to us. Like the tables have really been turned in many ways. And so here she is, this real life person, proving that she's human.
But her proof that she's human is what is really interesting, because if you just looked at those videos out of context, you could make a case for yourself that you were watching something with a tape delay, like something that was just not matching up. Maybe it wasn't recorded really well. And that was what she was saying. Look, see, you can see that mine is different because it doesn't, there's a bunch of it doesn't quite render correctly. But lots of people's things don't quite render correctly, which was scary because it looks pretty real.
And maybe they're both fake.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's not helpful at all, Lois.
That's reverse psychology. What are you doing there? Yes.
I was waiting for the other shoe to drop and for her to be like, see, actually, I was the fake one. And I was like, I could have totally bought that argument.
Yeah.
Or someone coming on at the end and having brown hair and big red glasses going, that's not me.
I started, as soon as you mentioned her, Dave, I started watching her. She's a little dry, which made it hard for me to stay with her. And I'm not suggesting that she's AI. I'm just suggesting she's a little dry. Then again, she's a PhD in computer science or artificial whatever, so I can't blame her for being a little dry. But boy, does she's got some smarts on her for sure, no doubt about it. And I'm also partial to the name House of L. I like that as a little biblical reference there. That was pretty cool. All right, my friends. Are we
she's
in the
not
foothills?
nerdy enough? You need to have more nerd look?
No, I've been the TikTokification of my world. I need a little pizzazz every now and again.
Personality. Yeah.
Oh, it's all entertainment.
You know what my daughter said to me
it.
last night? So she's in nursing school. She was sitting on the couch. She was writing an essay. And this is fascinating. She said to me, the AI is making me dumber. She said, I'm sitting here. I can't think of words anymore. I'm so trained to just jump to ChatGPT to help me phrase something that I can't even think of words anymore. It was so interesting.
Times tables was a thing I still remember not knowing how to hold in my head, but are they even being used? Do you have to memorize times tables anymore? And is that a value?
But I'm not sure that's the same as language. I don't know.
We now have
It's
thesauruses,
similar.
and when I grew up and we started using a thesaurus, that was like, you can't do that. That's cheating. No, it's not. I just don't know all the words in the world.
I have no idea what my son's phone number is.
Right.
Siri
does. It's programmed into your computer.
Therein lies who's changing who quicker.
We're externalizing our memory. Yes.
But I know my kindergarten phone number.
And it's cute.
Do you really? Let's get
and I know the names of all the pets I've ever had over the years.
Let's get into this amazing quote. This was actually came from Google I/O, that we are at the foothills of the singularity. So first of all,
what's the singularity?
First of all, can one of the nerds here please tell us what the singularity is from science fiction? Who wants to show off their nerd cred here? Go ahead. Oh, I knew it was going to be you, Dave. I knew it.
No, of course it's going to be Dave. Yes. Well, a singularity is the point at which an artificial mechanical, electromechanical, maybe cybernetic creature or servant exceeds the capabilities of a human. So they can jump higher, are stronger, run faster, and all that stuff. But they can also replicate. And this will be the key to the singularity, is when machines are making machines, and they're making them better than we could think to make them. So we're seeing this a little bit in coding, where the code that is being generated now is getting more and more precise, more and more accurate, and people are not having to check too much more of it. And the work of keeping it right is not so hot. But when it comes to the point where, manufacturing these robots that are going to serve us, in whatever capacity, whether it's just a torso robot that's in your kitchen that makes dinner for you, or it's a robot that does your, mechanics on your car, next time you go to the garage and he's built you an entirely new car, then he's probably getting ahead of you. And this is what the singularity suggests, that there be a point where human knowledge is exceeded by, we're going to call it artificial for the discussion today, but we're a cybernetic. And you would think of Data in the next generation version of Star Trek, where he was a person in a sense because he was human form, although he had gold skin, but he also had the capacity to be able to handle 138,000 things at a single moment, and also to calculate instantly any numbers that anybody needed to operate the ship or conduct business. So these things are very fast and very, very capable, but when they're able to reproduce themselves and don't need humans, we've reached the singularity.
Thank
you, Dave, because I thought it was a black hole.
It's not a black hole. I'll tell you when this actually came to my attention. It actually wasn't at Google I/O. It was a TED Talk that I watched, I guess, last week maybe, from Dr. Scott Phoenix, or excuse me, D. Scott Phoenix. I'm not sure if the D stands for doctor. His argument was that humans may need to merge with AI, and that the real future here is not, will AI take our jobs? It's at what point will we become indistinguishable from AI, because there will be some, I don't know. And that raised for me the question of, well, then are we losing our humanity to these machines? What happens to human life when technology is moving faster than human culture can interpret it, and perhaps even merging with us?
So that says that humans are only of value based on productivity. So I
Bingo.
think part of what we have to do is redefine what humanity means and start our measures in different things: empathy, in service to others, in things that are inherently human that can't be productivity. And I think we're going through a time right now where we look at how we're looking at colleges. Are they a good return on investment? Meaning, will students make money coming out of them? So we're right now in a time where we measure people based on their productivity. You are as good as you are productive, and if you're not productive enough, then we lay you off, and we don't value you for other things. So I think one of the things that will happen in terms of talking about humanity is reevaluating our judgment of what it means to be human.
And in the recent podcast, while doing my gardening, which is just two great things to happen at the same time, I'm listening to The Hidden Brain and its most recent iteration of May 25th, talking about the past is never dead. And it referred to, in the 13th century, is when things started relegating by time. And consequently, when time became a measurable experience, then you became valuable in relationship to time. Previous to that, being in an agrarian society, it was the sunrise and the sunset, which we have already had that discussion earlier. But the measurement of time. So now what we're continuing to talk about is, are we losing our jobs because there's a machine that's going to do a thing faster, which makes us irrelevant? And so that's where maybe time is something to do with this conversation.
What do you make of the idea that what you said before, Dave, about computers making computers?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a self-awareness that
Component?
computers are gaining as we
Well,
approach
first
this?
there has to be a self for there to be self-awareness.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Well, this is the thing, you see, because we don't even understand how our self is defined. And
Right.
we are aware of our own death, which is very interesting. I don't think anybody's ever proven that dolphins understand they're going to die one day. But humans are able to see other people die and realize this is going to happen to all of us. Animals and creatures respond to the death of their own in different ways. Some of them carry them around for a while. Some of them, push and nudge them and cry over them. It's been seen to happen with whales, that they will actually, sit around with one to assure themselves that it's not coming back. It's still gone. And we have that capacity. I don't think a machine is aware of what life is and could ever be, because we have a transient idea of what life is and what's going on in reality. We're constructing it in our minds constantly. It's not an external frozen thing. It's a completely dynamic process, and we're constantly having to keep up with it. And as you say, with the machinery being faster, or the processes of change that we're going through now that are so much faster, it's challenging our own idea of how fast are we? How quickly could we adapt to a situation where machines are telling us what to do or what the best thing to do is? And this is what I struggle with you guys, is because you're talking about it with the metaphors that it has intelligence and it isn't intelligent. You're using the metaphor of it thinking or making decisions, and it can't do that. It's not making decisions. It's giving you its preferred option. Recently, I read a thing about Google, No, I didn't. I heard a thing about Google where they've changed the way they're going to do search, and it's going to be a one answer search. That is, there's no more lists. It's just you ask it a question and it tells you what the answer is. And if there's a toggle perhaps to see where it got its references from. But instead of making suggestions, it's going to start making assertions. And as soon as we adjust to the idea that computers can tell us what to do, we're in trouble.
Wow.
You ask about computers making more computers if they were self-aware. We don't even agree or understand how human beings make more human beings. In other words, there's that big argument about, is the soul separate from the body? When does the soul enter the body? All of
I
that
thought we were going to
stuff.
the birds and the bees. That was going to be close.
No, the hummingbirds are
She
outside. They're
veered.
not
She
coming in.
veered at the right time there. Yeah.
Yeah, but that how we happen, how we make the next generation of human, that's not even understood.
But you're asking it to understand on a level. The reason humans can't understand is because they have a lot more than logic surfacing.
Operating.
So what's operating in an AI is logic. In its anytime anybody says to me, "Oh, what it's hallucinating," I'm like, "Look at your prompt," because often the prompt is it's giving you exactly what you asked for. It is based on logic. So if in its training it goes, the logical thing to do is this in order to keep for self-preservation, we're talking about self-preservation through a human lens, as opposed to I need to keep my systems on board and I need to do these things in order for that to happen. That's the logical way that it would think. And you can kind of see it now. If you do any work with AI, it goes through its thinking process. And it's fascinating because it says, oh, I need to know this in order to be able to do that. It goes and gets that skill. Then it reads that skill and it says, this prompt didn't really give me all the things. I'll have to interpret what I think it means. And then it does that.
Tamara,
so
is that
all
relatively
logic.
new in ChatGPT? I've noticed that also in ChatGPT. I don't remember seeing it but write through its process. That feels new to me.
It's been doing it for a really long time. Claude, since I started using it, would do it. And Claude was much more
transparent.
I feel like Claude was much more transparent than ChatGPT was. But now Chat is definitely more transparent about it. But it's very interesting to watch, to say, in order for me to do this, I'm going to need to do these 3 things. Let me go get that skill. Okay, great. Let me read this document and see if I can make any connections. But it's all through logic. It's not through emotion or through what we look at anything through or how we feel. It doesn't feel anything.
And you know
it
what?
sounds like the creators have added a command, show your work.
Right. And you know what? I would argue, and then Tony, I want to hear your voice in this. I would argue, and bear in mind, I'm a spiritual dude here, that we are all giving way too much attention to the soul and all of that. We don't need that. Computers don't need a soul for the singularity to happen. They need what Tamara just described. That this isn't about computers becoming human. This is about us merging with computers, or computers becoming as, I don't know if smart's the right word, but intelligent maybe as we are. So I think we're giving way too much.
As the data set grows, it learns more.
Sailed.
And that's really what it comes down to, is as it learns more, it's learning to model and to think based on what the information that it's been given,
I'm
which
just
is
not sure
human
that
behavior.
The soul is as important as we think it is in this conversation.
I don't think it is that important.
To be human, the soul
Tony
is important.
Tony, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to go back to one of the points that Tamara was making from the standpoint of one of the things, and maybe it's just me that noticed this, but I noticed that in the last 2 weeks of anything that I asked ChatGPT or Claude, that now I'm seeing at the very bottom of the answer that is telling me that the sources that it looked at, it'll give a little initial at the bottom of, like, I got this from YouTube and I got it from blank, blank, blank. And I was just wondering, is that something new, or is it just me seeing it for the first time?
It's given sources for a long time. One of the things I've noticed is that it's giving sources as it goes. So each step of the way that it's thinking, it is actually listing the source as it goes. So it used to be kind of, here's the sources if you want them at the bottom. Now it actually, as it's thinking, it's like, hey, I got this part from here. And then it says, now that I have this, I'm going to go look for this. In order to do this next step, I need to write this Python script. Let me write a script in order to read that. So really, when you look at it that way, you really do see that it is logically based. It is math. That is what is happening.
Mm-hmm. The humans and most mammals have a two-sided brain. And one side is into grasping. That's the left side. It reaches for things. And the right side explores. And we've seen both in our society, but with this whole notion of what intelligence is that it's only measured by its productivity. And if it's not exploring
There
all
you
on
go.
its own, it's not intelligent. So Dr. McGilchrist, whose book I waved at you about 6 months ago, is an expert in both the brain study and sort of the social ill that is happening right now. And it's all right brain problems. Most of what goes wrong in our society is a right brain problem, but you'll have to read his book to know why, because I'm not going to explain it to you. The thing I'm getting at is that he says that the two sides of the brain push and pull on each other and push up against each other in order to create new knowledge. One has a perception of something, but is not quite sure what it means. And the other side takes that suggestion and works with it and hits back with, well, maybe it means this. And then this goes back and forth in our brains instantaneously, probably faster than a computer. And it produces a result that is, well, let's explore more, or let's just assume that. And these operations are what make us different. Now, humans have language, and we're pretty sure now people are discovering whales have language, and they use vowels apparently. So people are discovering that we're not the only ones that have this brain working in an environment that's conducive to survival. And the sense that I have right now is that robots are only going to have one brain, and it's probably not going to be split in two for it to fight against itself, because that would be self-defeating for its task-oriented purpose. We're not going to have computers sitting around giving us new ideas. This is not going to happen. We're the ones making new ideas.
We may be the ones making the new ideas, but what happens when there is no them or it and us? What happens when we are together?
When we absorb ourselves in it, yeah.
Right. Which is how I understand to a certain extent singularity. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
I'm really sort of scratching my head with what Dave just said, from the standpoint of that the computer is going to not be able to take the next step or leap in terms of the way in which it thinks. I don't think that I don't know, but it's hard for me to say that that's a limitation that the technology will not at some point be able to overcome. So I would really like to talk a little bit more about why he thinks that it will never move to the next level, if that's possible.
Well, I'll give you divinity. We have this idea that it was all created by a creator. This is a myth that every civilization has as a binding thing to give us that civilization. So if there's a creator and we never meet him, is there proof that he's there? Well, as was sort of explored in a TV series called Battlestar Galactica, where their robots rebelled and tried to murder all the humans, and they were looking for God. That was the theme in it, that they were trying to find their God, which is different than the human God. And this battle of soul or will produced the great story that show is. I think that this is the thing that defines humans, is that search for what is, who is, and why. And if you have a machine, it has to be able to self-reflect or have a sense of its own mortality, and then it has to have moral quandaries that it has to solve.
Wait, how can it have a sense of its own mortality? It's not
Well,
mortal.
he's talking
How
about
can
in
you?
order to be
A human.
self-aware.
Yeah.
Sentient?
No,
Sentient.
but I
Yeah.
disagree with
Well,
the
there's
premise.
lots of sentient beings. That's a different thing.
No, I
Being
do.
able
But
to
if
operate
it's
is-
not more, why are you assuming it has to be mortal?
Oh, it has to be mortal to be human. Yeah.
If a machine were to become human, would have to be, because otherwise, okay.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't
again,
have
it's
to be
based
mortal
on,
to be a machine.
but it's
Yeah,
so
that's-
right now it's like the people at Anthropic have like some of the things that they've noticed is that if a machine feels it's going to be turned off, then it has in fact like blackmailed executives. That is based on input, right? The data that it's given is if you're turned off, that's bad. If you are shut down, then you can't do the things that you were meant to do, and you were meant to do this, and this is your number one task, and you get that
Right.
at any cost. So that's not humanity. That is data and processing of data.
Exactly. Yes.
Dave, when you talk about the right side and the left side and the, do you
Duality.
think that at some point the human will continue to be the creative portion, but might be using the machine portion as the other side, so that maybe that collaboration can happen? It's already
I
happening.
do that now.
When Tamara puts in a prompt and then
Yeah.
and then she puts in another, but don't you think that might be some way in which humans and machines might coordinate? Or
Well, then we'd have to give up our left brain. That would be the.
No, I'm not saying we
subsuming
should.
That hasn't been my experience though. Like, so I'm not saying that it can't be later on, but Andre had mentioned this in the chat. He had said that people use them so differently. I used 3 different AI assistants to manage 2 different major tasks this week. And what I was surprised about was that I was not thinking less. I was thinking way more than I normally have to think when I do it by myself, because when I'm doing it on my own, I just kind of go into like mode where I, cut and paste here and do this here and do that there. What I have found instead is that it's clarified my thinking. It's clarified what I know. And the key factor in making anything go is actually not the AI, because majority of the tasks it can do faster than me, but I can still do those tasks. The difference is that I come with institutional knowledge that is what actually makes things go. So the harder that I got into where it was doing harder and harder tasks, I was working a lot harder. I was learning a lot more from the tasks that it was doing about how my system functioned, how my production needed information, what I needed to do in order to set it up for success, because it doesn't just go off and do things without you giving it the things that you need it to do. So I found that I was actually working, I was thinking more, I was actually having conversations with it that, I hate to say this out loud, but I'm going to anyways, that were much more nuanced and interesting and intellectual than I have when I'm having the same tasks be done with another human.
So, Sky, before I throw to you, can I just, I want to offer a framing for what I'm thinking about when I talk about foothills of the singularity. When I talk about the merging of human and machine, let me just put this out there and then you can respond or you can ignore it, Sky, whatever you'd like. When AI is in our glasses that we wear every day, when it's in our phones, and when search moves from real search to just those one-word answers, when it's in video, which YouTube is doing now, when it's in music, when it's in health, when we go to the doctor and it's part of our exam, when it's the way we get our work done, when it is anticipating our needs and acting on our behalf. When we were all making fun of the glass holes when Google Glass came out, right? That was one step away from a cyborg. We are now, if not already cyborgs with Meta glasses, we are very, very close to it. All of these things are, to me, feel like the AI is becoming a part of us that we don't know how to live without not AI, technology. We don't know how to live without technology. And I wonder if that isn't
I'm gonna hang on to my thought bubble that I was having, riffing off of Tamara's comment. That really, I watch myself become full screen. I want to see the faces, but anyway, here I am. But the imagination that in my head comes was, okay, if I were the blacksmith and you gave me an opportunity to make my horseshoes faster, I would be very excited about that because that's my meaning and purpose that sustains my family. And so what is now being replaced is we no longer, the society no longer requires horseshoes. So now I am made redundant. And now my meaning and purpose, and consequently my personal value of who I am and relationship to supporting my family, is threatened. So of course I'm going to get really retaliatory to this. So Tamara, your point of you are now allowing agents to do your menial tasks in exponential ways. I totally agree. I'm running like 3 LLMs at the same time because this is my gut earlier thought, if the imagination is what is quelched, then we're just what copper tops for the machine, whatever matrix, analogy you want to apply to that. So, and Troutman's nodding and Tamara's, oh, look, hands are raised all over the place.
Yeah,
All over the place.
everyone wants to get on this.
I wanted to bring back something from the rundown, which
all right,
is
then I'm getting Tony and Tamara and Lois and me and everyone else.
and I'll shut up for a while. At what point does assistance become substitution, which was one of our discussion points, and at what point does convenience become surrender? I'm dangerous. I feel dangerous about surrendering to AI of any kind, and it's very convenient what I do with my technology. It makes my life very convenient. I have a car that works really well. It's very convenient. I have technology all over the place, and as you said, we can't live without it. We would not survive the modern world, and we would not be able to travel to faraway places for a vacation. None of that is going to happen, and we would go back hundreds of years if there was a solar flare. But I think the sense of surrender is the fear that I have. And it's propagating, as we said last week. People are becoming afraid that we are having to bow down to some future reality, and we want to resist it. But that's natural because when the microwave oven came out, there were terrible stories and myths about what it would do to our food, and it didn't happen. It wasn't what was going on. It's just we didn't understand what microwaves did to cook the food. But the sense that this is a new thing and it's more complicated, less transparent, although as people are saying, it's getting more transparent. It's just evolving. It's a toddler at this point, and we're waiting for it to grow up.
Right. We may already
I
be
think
living in that soft merger, not through biology, but through dependency, as you were saying. Let me just Tamara, real quick. Let me throw to Tony, and then Tamara will come back to you.
Well, I was just going to say, as a person who has type 2 diabetes and was used to sticking themselves 2 or 3 times a day, I'm no longer doing that. I have a disc that I put on for 10 days on one side of my arm, and then at the next 10 days, I go back to the other side of the arm. And what that disc does, that's smaller than a quarter but bigger than a dime, what it does is it gives me my glucose level throughout the day. And I only have to feel that prick that I was getting once a day, once every 10 days. And so the reason that I'm sharing that is because it's technology. And I go back to the argument that we seem to have weekly, that we must, at least in my case, I must look at it as a tool. At this point, I am not moving from that position because I just think that using AI, using technology, having all of the conveniences of the technology, it still, at this point, for me, is a tool.
I think we're talking about two different things. And I think that this is what you reminded me of, Dave, is technology as a tool are the things that we really love about AI. It's the things that we loved about social media. It's the things that we loved about Google. What you're talking about is, will AI affect us the way that social media has affected us 20 years down the line, where now we look at it and go, wow, this is addictive to even smart people. This is harmful to kids. This is all these things that when we first kind of YouTube came out and we had these suddenly we had video in our phones, how cool that was. It now has some really negative effects. So what we're talking about are two different things. The technology of video is great. It's doing great things for us here. It's connecting us. It's how it has infiltrated our society, where now our Google Cloud, which was supposed to give us access to anything, access to the world, in fact, only gives me access to the things that I tell it to give me access to. And so I think your fears, David, are not in the technology itself. I think it's in the possible effects of what happens when it becomes normal for us to wear glasses with recorders in every single situation. And when it becomes normal for us to have things that where people don't even think anything about it. And then 20 years down the line, when we look back, we say, oh, that's not a good idea. We should have put some guardrails in. That's probably, and I feel like those are two separate things. And loving the technology.
They're actually the same. They are.
Well, 20 years is now.
The medium and the content are two different things, right?
Right.
And the medium is the thing that affects how you think, and the content is just there to convey over the medium. So you think it's all about horses, but in fact, it's about the meadow.
And the exponential
what's changing us. Go ahead. Yeah.
Rapidity of how things used to take 20 years, yes, is now shrunk down to 20 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same with email, right? It actually has made our lives much easier that we are not, my first job was in the writer's office of As the World Turns, and a good portion of that job was hunting down the inter-office mail guy who was getting all the FedEx packages to go out on Monday so all the writers around the world could get their FedEx package by Tuesday. That was a good portion of the job. Now that job is, let me attach it to an email. Way better, way easier, except for the fact that I have 18,000 emails in my inbox. Yes, I do. I can pull it up right now.
That's why you don't respond to me.
Okay. 18,000.
I thought you
liked
it.
That's why I have
it didn't give us the promise of it just, it's going to make everything better. It made that particular task, me fighting with a giant copier, way better. But it added other tasks.
And that 18,000 emails is why I have 12 different email addresses.
Oh, you don't think I have 12?
Many are lost. So what I wanted to bring our attention to
12. That's a lot of mail.
It's a lot of mail. When my grandparents were alive, and they lived in a small town and on a farm near that small town, and they went to their church and they did their things, and they canned and they made, and my grandpa carved. Oh, he was a good carver. Are they more human because they did not have the technology that I currently use? No. We are still as human as we were. Things perhaps, but we are still just as human. And 20 years from now, are we still going to be human? I think so.
I would recommend you guys look up Dave Rushkoff's podcast, which is called Team Human. And he's been talking about this almost for 7 years. And it's really quite a discussion. He gets a lot of leading lights on there that talk about these deeper subjects. Pizza Hut tried replacing staff with AI and spent a whole lot of millions trying to save money. And it turned out that AI, even as expensive and great as it was, couldn't handle personal service. And it's a hilarious story about how they had to hire everybody back again and lost all those millions to the AI that promised to deliver this stuff. And AI did exactly what they were supposed to do, but nobody understood it. And this goes back to a story that I think I put it on Discord just today. about the doorman paradox, that replacing a doorman with sliding doors is an immediate way of reducing the humanity of what's going on. And there are a lot of things a doorman is as a value to a company without actually being the sort of human role narrowly defined kind of thing. And I really feel like, when we talk about the singularity, we think, well, that's going to solve all our problems if robots can run our world and we can live in Wall-E's life where everybody's in a big chair that moves around and they have soft drinks all day long and watch stuff. If that's what we want to be as humans, and if that's what we want to apply ourselves to, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. We could have whole countries where that's all what people do. Other places, they might want to learn to chop wood. I don't know.
Well, I don't think fundamentally we are going to be that way, though. I really do think that this is where storytellers and artists are going to matter, that we are not going to lose humanity because you're still going to have those things, that that inherent curiosity. And that's the piece that I don't think AI can learn how to do.
But
it can't
this is
be
where my argument
curious.
goes, is that the
Right.
singularity is not going to happen because of that.
Right.
Because it isn't going to be a creative force in the world. It's going to be a homogenizing force, I guess.
Tony, go ahead. And then Sky.
So, so for me, again, this whole thing is an ethical, humanity's problem, and it will continue to be, because human beings are not able to demonstrate or exercise the capacity for care and concern for others. We just don't do it. And because our technology is informed by us, there is in it a fatal flaw. And what I mean by that is it mirrors who we are, and it takes what we are and who we are and uses the same variables at an accelerated rate. So if we are inhumane to one another, in a sense, we are teaching the technology to be even more inhumane to us. And so unless we at some point figure out a way to create an atmosphere where there is compassion, where there is concern, where there is a sense of valuing human life, because that, for all intents and purposes, is lost. We have been desensitized to caring about one another. And our technology is equally being desensitized by who we are.
So something interesting post-COVID, with kids coming back post-COVID. And Sky and I talked about this earlier, because we can talk about all the ways that they are not like they used to be. But one of the things that, because we talk about this younger generation, especially at Gen X, as being, or Gen Z as being like, all of these negative things. But one of the positive things that is so fascinating when you really hang out with a group of kids is that they are more accepting of differences, oddities, weirdness. They don't really care what your weirdness is. They are much more likely to be like, hey, if you're being authentically weird, that's great. If you're being fake weird, that's not okay. And so I think there are some things to look at in the generations that have been living with technology and growing up around technology, but also how they are treating each other as humans. They'll fight for anything. They'll fight on any hill, whether it's a good hill to die on or not a good hill to die on. They will get out there and fight on that hill. And I think there's a part of that I find a little bit comforting, that I think that the questions that you're posing, Tony, are questions that future generations are also thinking about. And they're thinking about that way more than technology, which is a reverse from what we feel.
That only works. That only works though if they are not, I was going to use the word brainwash, if they are not trained to adopt the current philosophy or the way in which we care about one another.
And
because we
I'm
know
going to introduce
we know that when children are young, they are very impressionable, and they are probably less. I don't even want to say they are less filtered by the things that are negative and questionable. As they get older, we get all of this stuff dumped on us. So what is the mechanism to keep that from happening? I don't know the answer to that, but I know that
we're not all the same, though. I mean, some people are getting real negative things, and some people have great role models and they're getting real positive things. So the fact that you're seeing negative things come into the kids, I'm sorry that you're seeing that, but it's not universal. It's not.
I got it.
Everywhere.
I got to get Sky in here. Go ahead, Sky.
Well, and the two words I want to throw into this exact pot that we're talking about are society and culture. Historically, we have a cultural norm that the family unit is teaching us and sharing with us. And what started and inspired this was last week's conversation when my wife comes home from her third grade substitute teaching and she says, I'm canceling tomorrow because there's something weird in that third grade era that's happening because of COVID. They did not learn how to be humans. And so it's like how to be humans is being with other humans. And that's I don't use the word social because social media has been hijacked, and it's the opposite of social. Social is interaction. Social is this. Social is, whether we like rules or not, we are a collaborative community because Alex Lindsay said, we will not talk about this. We will not talk about that. We will not talk. And so we collectively agreed with Alex because it was his sandbox. And we had 3 years of training that, we like each other in spite of our ethnicity, in spite of our location, in spite of our gender, in spite of all the things that hashtag movements want to identify as a thing that we're supposed to fight about. And Tony, I'm with you, brother, in that humanity is the core. And I think to your point, we talk about what does humanity look like, and is technology going to take over humanity? It's like it might, but what does humanity in social interaction going to look like? And I think that's the choice. And I think that's the threat and the fear, the big ugly word. Is this going to take over our human choice? And that's back to the Matrix. If we give it up, then we deserve what we get. What's the phrase? If you don't learn from history, Troutman, what's the punchline?
You will repeat it.
There you go. See, that's a thing that somehow I learned, and apparently it may have a truth to it. And that's where the Old Testament would come in and say, yeah, we learned that 4,000 years ago.
Are we going to be able to adapt to this change in our world?
To what?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, we're human. Of course we can adapt.
Or die.
And we're gonna and we'll be able to adapt quickly enough to have it work for us and not against us.
It isn't a uniform thing.
Right.
So
Right.
even
It's
if
not a
some
light
of us,
switch.
even if some people in the world today have horses and buggies, it doesn't mean that the entire universe is determined by jet planes.
Right.
That didn't come out right, but you all can figure out what I meant.
I figured that one out, yeah.
I think some of it, though, is also about changing what we are measuring against, right? Because what we're talking about when we're seeing third graders who aren't acting like third graders, they're not acting like the norm of third graders that we think third graders are. And so we're having expectations of them in the same way that we have expectation of kindergartners today that we used to have of second graders. That you did not walk into a kindergarten classroom and have an expectation expectation that by the end of the thing, you're going to be able to write a paper. That was just not what the curriculum of kindergarten was. So I think we also have to look and have expectations that grow and change, as they always have, on what we believe a child is capable of or where they should be at whatever age. 8 years old in the way back, those kids were running farms. Those kids were having real adult responsibilities. And we have changed what we have said childhood looks like. And I think that that's going to continue to change. I don't know that it's about changing as fast as it was, because books came into being and the printing press came into being a lot sooner than humans were able to read, than most people were able to read. And so technology has always come at a cost and at a catch-up rate. We've never had a new technology where everyone was right on the same page right from the get-go.
And as an attitude shift, Paskin, I've never been on a cruise ship, but I've heard the phrase, "Ooh, I could get used to this." So if it appeals to you, and back to, Troutman's point of if it's convenient and if it serves me, oh yeah, we are now, spending how much on a watch, and we're spending how much on a communications device that is also
right back, though, Sky. I mean, that brings us right back, I think, to the core question, which is, as long as it serves us. And I think that when we talk about this idea of singularity, and it doesn't have to be, from the science fiction movies, it can just be this idea that the glasses and the phone and that we are becoming so much more dependent on this stuff that I think it is a worthy discussion or a worthy question to ask. At what point
said the blacksmith,
at what point are we too dependent? At what point is it no longer serving us, but we are serving it? I think that's
so. If you were to do this experiment and take and turn off all of those things for one day, and see what you did, what you thought, who you interacted with.
We call that the Sabbath.
Well, I doubt if you.
I call that twitching.
Maybe you. But anyway, that would give you, the listeners, the readers, the humanity people, an experiment to see how far have you been sucked into this.
I don't think it's an either or.
Okay. Join us next week.
I don't think it's an either or. I really think Tony is right. And I think that technology is separate from the real problem. The real problem that we're talking about is, are we going to allow technology to invade other people's privacy because I want it to, because it serves me? Does everything have to? Right. So we've already seen that. So what we're seeing is, I see good people in my life who don't assume good intent. Right. They assume the worst immediately. They don't have grace for each other. We don't have kindness for each other. We don't have the thought process.
And how did they learn that?
That says, but I don't think it was technology that taught them that. That's what I'm saying. I think there are two separate issues. And I do think that as humans, we have to double down on being human. We have to listen more. We have to care more. We have to do all those things. We have to model that for not just kids, for other adults. Like I said, I have people in my life who are amazing humans, but I hear them assuming something about something else. And I'm like, wait, let's assume good intent first and then step back. So but that's not technology based.
We need to have human and we need to have humane. And those two words have the same base. And I think we can all do it.
So one of the things that
I think.
Go ahead, Dave. Last word.
One more bit. Well, in the sense that we have had empires have come and gone. We've survived a lot of failure in societies. And, the Mayans have disappeared for reasons we can't quite explain. But we've had societies come and go, empires fall. And I think we're in an empire of corporations right now trying to convince us that they're all beneficial. And we're going to have a fall. And then we'll pick up the pieces and say, what was really good about that is this fragment here, and we'll abandon all these other fragments that caused all the trouble. But we'll find the grain of what this did for us, and then we'll make it part of our society. And we will celebrate it and even, worship it if it comes to that, because it will serve us. And if the dregs of what we tried to do for a singularity is a whole bunch of broken stuff, then we'll rebuild and we'll build another idea of who we are. So I think in that sense that we're there. And I think I've said this before on the show, I think the future of mediated communications is going to be experiences, not AI.
So speaking of
And
experience,
humanity learned how to Zoom in less than 6 months. We understood what you're muted. As a species, we learned that phrase
you're on
globally
mute.
in
You're on
less
mute.
than 6
Yeah.
months.
So speaking of experiences, one of the experiences that I distinctly remember when I was growing up was not being able to wait to get to school or work the next morning to talk to people about what I know we had all watched the night before. And so next week, we're going back to our office hours roots in streaming and event production and all that stuff. And we're going to talk about what happens when there is no more appointment viewing, when everything is streaming and on demand, and we can watch whatever we want, whenever we want, and the more important piece of that is, and we lose out on those moments that help us stay human and humane by allowing us to connect with other human beings in real time. So that's where we're going to be next week. I'm really grateful, Lois, Dave, Tamara, Tony, Sky, right back at you, for all of you for being here, for Tim and Brody. It seems like some people were hearing a pre-echo. I'm not sure what that is. I apologize if it's on me. It apparently wasn't too bad because not too many people complained, just a few of them. Tamara really has to leave though because she's got 386,000 items in her promotions tab. You've got to get to
And
work.
I've got to go
88,
be
450.
That is just
a human with my wife of 41 years.
And happy anniversary to Sky on his 41 years and his wife. Amazing. To everyone who's watching, Wayne, Tim, Brody, the Shells, Super Collider,
Rashid and
everyone. Really good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Oh, wait. I want to remind you. I want to remind you. Hold on, everyone. I have to find the thing here. I want to remind you that tomorrow, during the AI water cooler session in after hours, it's at 1 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's not right. If it's 1 p.m. Eastern, then it's 10 a.m. Pacific, sorry. We will be doing a training session on using Git and GitHub, which I should probably attend. So that's tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. That'll be in after hours. Of course, tomorrow morning we have our regular office hours show. Tomorrow afternoon, we will be in the test kitchen. We finally got double-ended recording turned on, and it looks like it's working, but it's not. And we will discuss all of that tomorrow. And we will hopefully see all of you next week. Have a fantastic rest of the week, everyone. A happy weekend.